It was an important visit, as it should be, because there are certain ground facts in Pakistan. The army that is the most influential force in the country. It is the army that takes all major decisions, and in other nations is seen as the force that they should deal with. I mean, Americans have always made it very clear that they regard the army in Pakistan as the most powerful force, and they like dealing with it. So yes, it was an important visit. Came here, and as expected, he met all the key people that he should have met. Like he met the U.S. Defense Secretary, Mr. Austin, who is also a retired general. And then he met, which obviously most army chiefs who come to Washington do not. I mean, army chiefs usually meet the Secretary of Defense, they meet other generals like the Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff, and the head of Army or the Air Force or whoever they need to deal with. But he did meet those. I mean, he met the Secretary of Defense, he met Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff, but he also met the Secretary of State, is like the Foreign Minister here. So that shows that the Army's visit was important, not just for the U.S. Department of Defense, but it was also diplomats who see Pakistan as an important nation in a very sensitive region. And so they feel that it is in U.S. National interest, and I'm talking about foreign policymakers, it is in U.S. national interest to stay engaged with Pakistan. And most interestingly, he also met Victoria Nuland, who is the Deputy Secretary of State. Now, Deputy Secretary in the US is like the Secretary in our system, and their Secretary is like our Minister. And Deputy Secretary is the senior most bureaucrat in the State Department, and he or she is number 2 only after the Foreign Minister. And she has been, and is still is in charge of the political section for the political affairs. So for an army chief to meet the head of the political affairs section at the State Department has its own significance. See, obviously, when you meet somebody who is in charge of the political sections of another nation's foreign affairs, so you discuss the political situation in the region. Now, you also discuss the political situation in your own country. That was a significant meeting. Then he had a meeting with the Deputy National Security Advisor. He spoke to the Pakistani community here in Washington, and in that meeting he gave some very important messages. Like he said, responding to questions about elections and things, he said that yes, in March, elections for the Senate are due. Those elections, the Senate elections, cannot be held unless the National and Provincial Assemblies are there, because National and Provincial Assemblies are the electoral college for the Senate. They're members of the National and Provincial Assemblies elect the senators. Therefore, what he implied was that national elections in Pakistan must be held before March so that they can then go and elect the new Senate, because the army would like the Senate. Even during martial law, you see, in Pakistan, the Senate has continued. And so therefore, the Pakistan establishment would like the Senate to continue, that elections will be held before March and on time to elect the new Senate. And I think when I checked it online, I think the Senate needs to be elected on the 3rd of March. So I think there is very little time between now and 3rd of March. So I think the Pakistani establishment is also ready to hold the elections on the 8th of February, the Election Commission has said. So that was a very significant statement. Then wherever he went, he stressed the need to strengthen Pakistan's economy. In his meetings with the U.S. officials, in his meetings with think tank experts, he met think tank experts in his meetings with other people, as well as his address to the Pakistani community. He appealed to them to invest in Pakistan. He talked about America being the largest trading partner of Pakistan, and strengthening trade and economic relations with the United States. So that was a very important message. Then he went to New York. From Washington, he went to New York, where he met the UN Secretary General, where he discussed the situation in Kashmir, particularly the Indian Supreme Court's endorsement of an illegal act by the Indian government, that is merging the held Kashmir with the Indian Union. So he discussed that scenario with the UN Secretary General and stressed the need for resolving the Kashmir issue according to UN Security Council resolutions. And then from there he went to Florida, where he met the commander of the U.S. Central Command. The Central Command is the command that is directly responsible for the greater Middle East area, and that includes Pakistan and Afghanistan as well. So, in a way, Pakistan is part of the U.S. Central Command's responsibilities. So he met with him, and they talked about the need for continued training Pakistan military officers in the United States and other military matters. So, as you see, I mean, his meetings show that this was more than the meeting of an army chief. I mean, army chiefs who usually come to Washington, they do not meet the Secretary of State or the Foreign Minister. They do not go and meet the Secretary General of the United Nations. So I think the army was also not shy of strengthening the impression that the military in Pakistan has greater responsibilities than the militaries usually do, and it is willing to and ready to fulfill those responsibilities. And I think that is how that visit was seen in Washington and was seen by UN diplomats in New York. In the United States, the media usually do not show much interest in foreign visitors, particularly they do not write about or report on visits by foreign military officials unless it is something that directly concerns the United States. Had there been a war going on in Afghanistan, yes, the US media would have been interested. But this time, since there is no direct war in Afghanistan, there is no direct US involvement in that area. So there are magazines, such as the Foreign Policy magazine, that are interested in such issues. And the Foreign Policy magazine did a nice article about the Army Chief's visit, explaining why Pakistan and its military is important for Pakistan. The media did not show, and I think much of an interest in the visit, and I think Pakistan also did not peg them to any particular interest in the visit. See, let's talk about the PTI. PTI people, obviously, some of them very concerned. I mean, when I say the PTI people, I mean PTI people in America. You know that the PTI is very active in the United States of America. It has a very strong support base. They have been campaigning in the US Congress for Imran's release, for the restoration of democracy and what they call unfettered democracy in Pakistan. They want free and fair elections. They say elections held under these circumstances when their leader is in prison and their other lead are either in jail or they have been forced to leave the country or they are in hiding. So in this situation, obviously, the PTI cannot play its role in Pakistani politics. So they have been campaigning and they were apprehensive. They were concerned about the chief's visit, but surprisingly, they did not show much of a resentment during the visit. There was a small demonstration outside the Pakistan embassy. 5 or 6 people protested against the visit, but other than that, there were no protests, no rallies, or nothing. Actually, the local leadership of the PTI in Washington, PTI's local leadership in Washington, it did actually say that we have instructions from Pakistan not to protest, not to create unnecessary hurdles during the chief's visit, and that we have been asked to let it go smoothly, and that's why we are not protesting, and we're not interested in protesting against the chief or against Pakistan army during the visit, because they said that they also regard the army as Pakistan's army. They do not see as a disputed party.